Hey guys, uh, welcome back for a lovely session. Today we have a panel discussion with Samir heading as the host. The panel discussion is on is NFT a fad or a long-term trend? So we do have two more panelists, I think so. All right, so I'd like to call upon Samir on stage and take it up. Samir, over to you.
Thank you, Manav. Hi, guys. I hope you can hear me. We have a great panel here, and some of the other guests are joining. But I think we'll go ahead and start. I couldn't be prouder for starting this and having people from all the field, right? So we have Joshua, who is coming from RockX. We have Treasure Dad, who is coming from Treasure Community. We have Raghav, who is running Noah DAO, who is starting his own project. So we really have a mix of OGs here from the NFT ecosystem. So I think I'll be starting. I'll be your host for today. I am the partner at Chain Assets Capital. We are also onboarding angels to support Web3 angels, and I work with Blockchain India to support Web3 startups. So we have a great panel here, and I'll be starting with Joshua. Joshua is currently working with RockX. It is one of the Asia's largest staking and tech platform with almost $1 billion asset under management. It is a leader in the DeFi space, and it's entering the NFT sector. Now, personally, Joshua has helped launch projects for Mike Tyson, Lamelo Bell, Steve Oki. He's also working with the US Olympians to develop their NFT collection. So he has that experience where he has worked with the OGs and people who are launching their collections, right? And it was great to hear Anuj before this, who gave a background, so we can deeper into the session now. So Joshua, I would like you to talk more about yourself, your background, and your initial thoughts on what do you think, are NFTs a fad, or it is a future or long-term trend, or what it is?
Sure. Thank you very much for that introduction. As Samir said, I've spent a little bit of time in the space. I've actually been in blockchain for full time for about 5 years now. And prior to working in NFTs, I worked with a number of blockchain platforms, dApp aggregators, exchanges like Binance and Huobi, and a number of other projects before working as a journalist for Cointelegraph. And finally, I entered the NFT space in 2019 with my own project, as well as working as an advisor and a contractor for an NFT gaming launchpad. And it was through that launchpad that I started to get connected to some of these really incredible projects and incredible teams. And when I first heard about NFTs, it was one of those things that I understand, but to be honest with you, I actually thought it was probably going to be a fad. Um, I didn't pay too much attention about it. I knew that there was money to be made in there, but I didn't see too much of a long term uh, career. But that was simply because I simply didn't understand it, and that was in late 2017, early 2018 that I started hearing a little bit of these rumors around NFTs. And the thing was that because I didn't understand it and didn't take it that seriously, DeFi, which was also quite heavy at the time in the forefront of people's attention, that took my attention as well. But it wasn't until I started exploring the boundaries of what blockchain technology can do that I started to really understand that for us to really get the true potential of blockchain technology, that NFTs was one really big and powerful avenue to be able to get that mainstream adoption. So yes, I have changed my thoughts from it being a fad to it being here to stay. Um, but I think it's going to be going through a few cycles, and that's in the sense that NFTs are seen currently not as a tool, but as an end product. And the way we see that is people come into the space, they want to create an NFT project because they want to have an NFT project. They want to have artwork that's represented on NFTs. They see the NFT as the end goal. And this is really visible in the sense that a lot of the marketing around these projects and around this space is all focused on the NFT itself, not on the utility or the problem solution, which is when you go back to the traditional world and you want to start up a company or a business, generally speaking, you focus on that problem that you're trying to solve. And that barely comes into play in all the marketing and the awareness that people are bringing around NFTs at the moment. And so that component or that part of NFTs, I would say, is a fad. And that's going to cycle out. And when people talk about our NFTs in a bubble and the price is completely disproportionate, I would say in the sense of NFTs being an end product, yes. But NFTs being a tool, and that's where I see that the focal point will be transitioning from it being an end product to being a tool to enable other products or other services. And when you think about it, it's simply just a piece of software that goes hand in hand with blockchain, and it enables for the authentication or the easy verification of ownership or the verification of a degree of uniqueness of a product or an item. And whether it's a physical item or a digital item, it could be either, but it's just a tool to allow for those features to be basically demonstrated in an autonomous manner. And so when you think about it like that, in the sense of, okay, so what items are going to be having the need for verification of authenticity or uniqueness or ownership? And the majority of industries that we're in right now have some way, shape, or form got that integration built into them, whether it be certification, whether it be a paywall or a login or an access, or whether it's in the form of unique pieces of art or collectibles or anything like that, or if it's simply just the idea of owning data or owning information, that in itself can be used or can have NFTs use let me rephrase that. That ownership of data is where NFTs can really come into play and shine. And I don't think we will see the mainstream adoption really happening until NFTs stop being the focal point and stop being where people are focusing their marketing and their awareness campaigns on, but rather that problem solution. I think Samir's frozen on me there for a second. But what I will say is one of the things that I am looking forward to in the near future with NFTs is around specifically around ticketing and subscriptions and membership. I can see a huge range of potential there, and I am really quite excited to start to see it break into those industries. And it will not only will it allow for new and upcoming platforms to really interact and engage with their consumers in a more real and a more personal level, but it helps to greatly reduce the costs and the trust issues that are related with those sort of things, with the ticketing and subscriptions and memberships. Samir, are you there?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
But I might actually hand off to one of the other panelists to introduce you guys. Who would like to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Hi, guys. And first of all, thank you to Samir for having me here. I'm Raghav. I'm the founder of NovaDAO. I ventured into the world of cryptocurrencies around late 2016. And back then it was more of just that, like, I was in college and a friend told me, check this thing out, called Ethereum. It's something new. And that sort of started this love affair, which for a long time was very, very focused on money. Funnily enough, by which I mean trading. I was only trading until 2020, which is when I decided to take a step back and really dive deeper into what technologies and what it can help us do. Which is when I really sort of got involved into this with all my time. and then the idea of NovaDAO came about and so on and so forth. But I think NFTs, I'm relatively new to the space, around June, July last year. But what really made sense to me as the value proposition of NFTs was, if we break down like our lives today into just two things. Number one, how much time we spend online, and number two, how much we love owning things. Everyone here, if you just count all the things you own, right, from pens and pencils to homes and clothes and everything, hundreds and even thousands of things maybe, right? And given how much time we're spending on Instagram, on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, it's kind of insane that we don't have a way of proving ownership of digital assets. And I think that was the first hard hitting point of NFTs that really spoke to me. Obviously, beyond that, much like Joshua said, there are things like access NFTs, tickets. This year, Coachella was planning to, I believe, launch their tickets as NFTs. So I think pretty much exactly what Joshua said. Over this current idea of NFTs is a bit of a fad. And I think especially in pop culture, anything that is an NFT is kind of clubbed together. So the only thing that makes the news is the 150 Ethereum sale of a picture of a rock, and probably not some NFTs that is giving you, like, I know there's one project that gives you free access to mental health care and things like that. That doesn't make the news because that's not meme worthy, or that's not. So what happens is, to a guy who's not really in the space, this is all one big joke. And I think that will take some time to go away. Only when ease of access comes about and there's a very, very real utility for people at scale is when this image will go. But I do think that the technology is here to stay, not in this current form, but definitely our lives will be very, very affected by NFTs before we know it.
Thanks, Raghav. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Raghav. I'm sorry I was not able to connect. Thank you for taking the mental. And Raghav is working on NovaDAO, which he talks about, and we also talk about different projects together. So before further ado, I would like to call upon a stage Treasure Dad. Now, why I was excited about this call was also because of him. Now, Treasure Dad is anonymous. He's also a part of Treasure community, which is one of the largest communities in the NFT space. They work on and they have innovated in a lot of NFTs, DAO, and the gamified space, right? And I have been personally involved since September when Loot came in, and then when the Treasure came in, and they have built a lot of projects. So he's part of the community, but he's also working on his project called Small Wishes. He has the cybersecurity background. Plus, this is a unique feature of Web3 and NFTs where a community member is representing the large company, right? So this is like Facebook being represented by their shareholders or by their people who uses them. So I am very excited, and Treasure Dad, if you can come in and talk about Treasure, talk about your project, and if you can tell us what you think about NFTs. Is it a fad? Is it a long-term future? What is it? Over to you.
Hey, Samir, thank you for having me. I'm not a head of marketing or a founder of a DAO, but I'm really excited to be here and to be on stage with these other cool guys. I was thinking about what some of they were saying, and the internet. I've been around, so you look at my PFP and you think, oh, I'm really old. Well, I'm not as old as my PFP looks to be. That's a small brains derivative. And that's actually one of the reasons why I do like NFTs so much, is because of the community that it creates. But I was thinking back on the creation of the internet. So I'm almost 40 years old. And when I was growing up, the internet was really being created in the sense that it was coming to life for most average people. And so when I was 11 years old, I got my first email address. And then my dad hooked us up with this dial-up internet that was called Prodigy. And this was basically just a page that you went to that had data, that had information, no pictures. You could see the weather, you could see a sports score, you could see stock news, but that was it. The internet was just seeing some data. And I think over the years, as the internet has exploded, what has been most successful about it is the community building aspect of it. So you look at social media, maybe you remember MySpace, or when Facebook first came out, or Twitter. And the internet really started exploding by connecting people, by connecting communities. And this is what I think will really be the difference with NFTs. We have the foundational blockchain technology, which I believe is the next iteration in some sense of the internet. And NFTs are sort of that practical application of how it can connect community. Now, there'll be lots of different types of NFTs, like have already been discussed. Maybe it's just art, or maybe it's ticketing, or maybe it's access. But I think at the end of the day, NFTs have the potential to really be what social media was meant to be, really truly connecting communities. And I think a challenge, a problem will be, most NFT collections are 10,000. And well, what if you have a community that has more than 10,000 people? What do you do? So I think we might start seeing collections eventually of 100, of 1,000,000, just because they're trying to bring in a community that has ownership and connection to the broader community. And when it comes to treasure, one of the things that I really like I mentioned, is this PFP that I have, this Treasure Dad PFP. That's actually not an NFT. It's not worth anything. It was made by a artist in the small brains community, Monopoly, and it's a JPEG. But what it does is it actually connects me to the community in a unique way, whether I have the small brains NFT or not. Now, I think there will be a way that's needed to convert my PFP JPEG to an NFT, so I actually have ownership of it, because I sent this JPEG to Samir so he could put it up here, so he could go around, pretending to be Treasure Dad if he wanted. He could create a Twitter account and put up this picture, and how would we really verify Samir isn't the real Treasure Dad? Well, that's one of the issues that I think the blockchain has meant to address, is verification. And so eventually, once the blockchain is implemented into our social media, Samir won't be able to steal my Treasure Dad NFT. We'll be able to look at it and see the metadata, the data about the data. Oh, it's a JPEG, so he must not be the true owner of that NFT. And I think, NFTs, obviously, a lot of people have the PFP. They have this picture up there because sometimes perception really influences the way people look at you. I can join the treasure community, and no matter what I look like, or what people think of what I look like, they might have their own perceptions of me based on the PFP that I have. Now, one of the reasons I've been anonymous is partially because it's been fun. It's fun to kind of just step into an environment and to not have people really have any expectations or perceptions of you. And I personally will eventually fully dox myself because of the Small Wishes project that I'm helping out with, which you can go to my Twitter page and then see the link to Small Wishes. And that's a charitable giving opportunity and organization that I'm standing up as a community initiative for treasure. And so we are looking to partner with lots of different NFT projects to raise money to give away to some different organizations. One of the first ones that we're looking at partnering with, and we're in the process, it's not official, it's not finalized, but maybe you've heard of Make-A-Wish. And Make-A-Wish International is one of the organizations that we're looking to partner with, so that we can help kids with critical illnesses, experience a wish to come true for them. And we'd love to be able to help make that happen, to help them in their healing process, and to help them as they fight these different diseases and illnesses. And so I'm a dad myself, as you maybe see from my Treasure Dad name, and I'd love to be a part of helping use blockchain and crypto and NFTs to affect real good in the world, to really help people. It's not just about Lambos and yacht parties. People want to make a lot of money, and that's cool, but I would like to make the money so that we can help others and give the money away. And so eventually, my whole name will be out there, because you can't do charitable giving as an anonymous person, because they won't trust you. But I personally don't mind showing my face. Here I am, Treasure Dad in the flesh, and I'm super happy to be on this call. And really quickly, if you are interested in treasure and learning more about that, you can very simply go to startwithmagic.com and I think learn everything you want to about it. But I'm happy to answer any questions, and I've been talking for a while, so I'll shut up.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for doxing yourself as well. Uh, big moment for small wishes. Moving on to the next speaker, I'm excited to have Yol here, and I am part of his community, the Meta organization. But he has a real estate background. He also ran a early stage venture capital firm in 2019, and after exploring the crypto space for 5 years, he finally decided to jump full time into Web3 space and started the Meta organization. Now, what is interesting is you have seen different type of projects. What he has is also an access platform, so that the NFT is not the art but the platform, but it is an access pass, right? So he's using NFTs as an access pass, and I'm excited to have him here. Yol, over to you. If you can introduce yourself, and also if you can speak on what do you think about NFTs? Are they a fad or the future?
Of course. Thank you very much, Samir and Manav, for inviting me to speak first. And thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you to all the other speakers. You guys did a great job going first, setting the tone. So my name is Yoel from New York. I would say that I had started my crypto and NFT career, like Samir said, around 5 years ago. The NFT career, as it got more popular, I found my way here, maybe around a year ago, give or take a little more, maybe. I would say that when I first got into the space, I had looked solely for NFTs with utility. At the time, I didn't understand what utility was. I just wanted to know that I can do something with my NFT more than a profile picture. Obviously, since then, my thoughts have changed, and we'll get into that. But when I had first begun, I remember investing into a platform called Zedrun, a horse racing platform. And I remember telling my whole family, I was like, yeah, guys, like I own horses. So my brother actually lives on a farm, and he owns real horses. So when I told him, oh yeah, you own a horse, I own a horse. What are you talking about? You own a horse? So yeah, I own a digital horse. And he's laughing, and I'm telling him, I'm like, no, really, I can race it. I can breed it. I can do all these things with it. I can put it in a stud. And he's laughing. He's like, you're telling me you can make these digital offsprings and sell it and make money on your horse and this and that. So yeah, I can do everything you can do. The only difference is I don't have to feed it. I don't need land. It allows me to do something that I wanted to do in the past, but without the overhead, without the maintenance, the insurance, things like that. So that was what I thought utility was, and still definitely is. Since then, I've learned a lot. I remember watching, for instance, Bored Ape Yacht Club. I remember watching them get created. I had chosen not to mint it just due to a week prior was one of the first ever rug pulls in the NFT space. A project that I invested in. It was based on anonymous founders. I invested into it. I was one of the very few that got lucky to sell just to break even, make a little bit of money on my investment, but I was holding a big bag of it. And I remember I see Bored Ape Yacht Club come around. I'm like, all right, it's the same thing. It's anonymous founders. It's a project that just popped up on my radar. Like, why would I buy this? A month later, the momentum's going up. It's going up. It's going up. This is a fad, 100% a fad. Cannot be a fad. It's literally a picture. Can't do anything with it. What is the utility? I can make it my background. It's not nice art. Yeah, it's cute, but it's made by a computer, and it's made to look, it was quick. Another month later, it's up. I remember I joined the Discord, and still to this day, my first message is in their Discord. At this time, I was just learning. I was frustrated because my Zedrun platform wasn't going as well as I thought. It wasn't going poorly, but just wasn't going where I thought it was. I saw the momentum building. I jumped into the Discord. I'm like, there's no utility here. I'm going to screenshot your pictures. I was the person that was saying, I'll just screenshot it. I didn't understand in the beginning. So what did I learn? I learned that these images are more than images. They're a place on the blockchain. They're something that connects every member of the community. For instance, if you own a nice watch, if you own a Rolex, Imagine if there was a community of Rolex holders. You buy a Rolex, you get put into a community, and now everyone in that community has one thing in common at the minimum. It's that you guys all own the same watch. And from there, it allows you an icebreaker to start conversation, to network, to come out of your shell. And that was the utility. The utility was the community. It still is. You know, they could be building a game, they could be building whatever they're building. But at the end of the day, the what really gives it its value today is the scarcity of, if you own one, you can enter this community, and you can just be aligned with people, you know, be aligned with a core set of values, build a brand using your asset. And over time, we saw that develop into more projects, into more communities being formed as new members came in. You know, there's room for other projects to grow. And what I saw was, you know, there's an opportunity to focus, you know, maybe not on the profile picture aspect. The profile picture is also a separate utility. You know, back to a Rolex, same thing. You wear a Rolex not to tell time. You wear it to make yourself look good, this, that. Today, we live in a digital world. You're on your computer, you're on your phone. You meet people through dating apps. You meet people through work apps. You meet people through the computer. So your first impression in real life is how you're presented, how you look. Online, your first impression is your profile picture in a way. You know, it's your bio, it's your picture. So we're going to see pictures starting to really take form in that sense. With that being said, you know, it doesn't have to just be your profile picture is what you identify with, because now you'll see holders of one community hold 10 different profile pictures, and they don't have enough room to post all of them, so they post one, but they hold all the other ones. They're integrated into all the other ones. They're communicating in all the other ones, contributing. So myself and my partner decided, you know, let's create an access pass that allows for, which, by the way, we weren't the first to do this. There were others that did this. The only difference was we believe that most gated community groups were meant to be trading groups. How can you flip? How can you follow trends and follow charts? And you're not really, you know, the beauty of this is another utility is you get to try to make money in this space. And people took advantage of that also for their own personal gains, and they wanted to share their trading strategies. So they built these alpha groups that were gated communities. My partner and I decided to build a networking community that would definitely focus day to day on allowing people to discuss what type of investment strategies they're using, what type of investments they're making, what things they're moving away from, not just solely into the Web3 space, the NFT space, the crypto space, but overall markets. We want people that both live in whatever certain place, wherever it is, or they work in a certain industry. We want them to be able to network with each other. And that's how, Samir and I met. He had an opportunity to talk about what he's building. He messaged me, we spoke about it further, and here I am. We've had people land jobs. We've had people land investment opportunities, investments. We've had things of that nature. We just think that we wanted to transcend the crypto space because, yes, NFTs are amazing. The NFT space is amazing. But in order for the space to grow, I think everyone here could agree that we would like to also see it become integrated into the rest of the world. Someone had mentioned here, NFTs use it as tickets. As a kid growing up, anytime I went to a sporting event, I never got rid of my ticket. I brought that home and I put it in a safe, and I want to hold the ticket because it's a memory. Now with NFTs, I lost those tickets. They fade, they wear out. Now I have an NFT that shows I went to an event, and the potential for that to become an even cooler experience is incredible, and a cooler memory in a sense. And what I think is that NFTs are definitely not close to a fad. I think that the technology is here to stay. I think we'll see the next wave of NFTs being used as financial instruments. We don't really see that yet. I come from a real estate background. In my office, we have what's called a title agency. Basically, what they do is when two parties transact, the buyer of a property wants to make sure that they're actually dealing with the real seller. They want to make sure that the deed is real, that this is the owner of the building, whatever it is. They go to a title agency. The title agency gets paid a lot of money to go and say, yes, this is verified. We checked. It's essentially insurance. I think that NFTs, for instance, can be integrated into that, where you can put a deed on the blockchain and publicly have access very, very easily and simply to view all transactions on chain. Anyone can do it to better track the owner of a property. We can see NFTs being used for assets such as luxury item, things like that. I think that there's definitely a chance that we see that happening sooner than later.
Thank you. I think that we have a perfect candidate, like to talk about. Glad that you mentioned that NFTs can be used as a financial asset, right? So I really want to pin that and call upon again Raghav to talk about that, right? Again, Raghav is also a Bored Ape holder, and he has seen, right? He has invested in different type of, not just PFPs but utility passes. By the way, he's also a member of Meta organization. So he has seen, and after having seen that and the potential of what NFTs can do, he started NovaDAO and use it as an accessibility platform, more as a financial instrument. So I really would want him to talk about that, because I think NFTs are being judged on the basis of what are the current use cases, which is all right, but then there is the future which is waiting. Remember, NFTs are just 1 or 2 years old, right? 2 years old to be in the mainstream. So we are really scratching the surface. So Raghav, why don't you speak about that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Samir. So very quickly, NovaDAO, because that's important to this discussion, is a fundraising and incubation platform for all Web3 builders. Our basic aim is to sort of combine the best parts of traditional VC, crowdfunding, and Web3 to bring some inclusivity and accountability into this space. Why it's relevant in this discussion is because I think where NovaDAO is different from a traditional investment DAO. And very quickly, for those of you who don't know, a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, which basically is a group of people coming together. And when we say investment DAO, you can imagine like it's a bunch of friends or colleagues or whoever pooling in money to make collective investments, right? In its current forms, investment DAOs are seen like exactly what I said. It's like 10 to 100 rich people or famous people or friends who come in, make investments, collective investments, and take out the collective winnings and move on, right? Which is cool, but once again, that runs into the problem that Treasure Dad pointed out, where that's just limited to 100 people. The value creation is nice, it's great value, and the similar thing might happen to even things at 7,500 or 10,000. Ultimately, on the scale of global population, 10,000 people is nothing, even though it may sound like a lot for a community to manage. So how do we then tackle this problem? And I think at least for now, what we did at NovaDAO is we figured, okay, you know what? There's two things happening here. There's a governance and a utility. So the governance goes into which projects we want to fund as a collective pool, right? And the utility is actually funding those projects. So why not separate those two things? So how we did that is, so for us, the Genesis NFT, which is minting later this month, actually becomes the DAO membership. And that gives you a say in which project should be funded. Now, if you own and if you've paid for that NFT, you will also earn our token, which is basically a fractionalized representation of the treasury itself. And that can also be bought or sold on the open market. What that essentially means is if you are a holder of the NFT, you are actually sort of a part of the company in a sense, in a traditional sense. You're actually on the board of directors where you are one of the people who are taking larger picture decisions, but you're not bound to every single investment being made, and neither is anyone else. It's not a closed off group. So there'll be 7,500 people who vote on which projects, but the actual funding of the project can be done by anyone and everyone in much like a Kickstarter manner, because that happens with a coin, with a token, what we call the Nova token. So essentially here, instead of NFTs being just access, they become access plus governance, and the token itself becomes utility. And what that helps us do is very, very easily, very, very quickly scale beyond just our initial 7,500 members. Because the token, like I said, is available on decentralized exchanges. Anyone can go buy it, go to our platform, and from within those chosen projects, choose which project they'd like to be a part of, much like you would in Kickstarter. The only difference being that here there's a core team and a DAO maintaining accountability. You know, like in Kickstarter, if someone runs away with your money, they run away with your money. That's it. There's no responsibility being taken. So I think that is where, so here I would say that the NFTs are being used in much like how they are in Meta organization, along with the added cherry on top of being one of the guys who have a say in where this project will go, you know. And obviously within that, there'll be people over time who will become the sort of the marquee representatives, like Treasure Dad has come out of the Treasure community. You know, he's a respected member around there. And obviously those guys combined with the core team will then guide a group of 7,500 people into hopefully making a very vibrant project. Does that make sense, Amir?
Yeah, thanks, Raghav. Thank you so much. And we definitely know the answer whether you think it's a fad or not, because you have spent more than 1 crore on a profile picture on a monkey. So I think, Joshua, I would like to ask you this specific question, and I think you can answer that. You know, there is one thing saying that whether we think it is a fad or not, but you work with a lot of artists and businesses who are looking at this as a great opportunity to integrate themselves with the community, like Raghav just mentioned, and Treasure Dad is a representation of it, right? So what do you think, how are they thinking about it? Are they thinking that it's just a fad which we should just use it, or are they thinking more long term and that it is the future?
One of the things that I hear a lot when I have these initial discussions with the celebrities or the artists or these traditional businesses is their response to when I ask, why did you pick NFTs? They all say, or not all, but a lot of them say it's to stay relevant to my fan base, to my communities, to the new generation. And that's a very big underlying theme of why a lot of these individuals or organizations are entering into the NFT space, because they don't believe it's simply just a fad, or if they do think it is a fad, it's going to be a very long drawn out fad in a sense. But they see that it is important enough where they will be left behind. They will be behind the 8 ball, according to their competitors and others in the industry, if they don't jump on the NFT bandwagon. Now, that comes with its own problems as well, because somebody jumping on the NFT bandwagon just because their competitors are, that's not going to do well for this industry at all. But one of the things that my job and a lot of the people on this panel and other people that understand NFTs, our job is to really be able to educate these organizations and these individuals as to how best they can utilize this technology in a sustainable manner and an effective manner that will not only keep them relevant, but will get them ahead of the game and will actually improve their product or service offering to their community or their fan base. And until we can do that in a manner that is quite simple and makes sense from a business perspective, then we're always going to struggle with people entering the industry for the wrong reason, or entering the industry because they know that they should, but they don't understand why or how to use it.
No, thank you so much. I think I like that beer market that way, that we will have more builders coming in and people for the right reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think I would like to call upon Treasure Dad and speak about, because so you have cybersecurity background, right? And whenever somebody asks me, which project to buy, and we all say that no, these are the projects, but you have to do your own research. Now, a lot of new people also are scammed. There are a lot of this, we all have seen this. You can get scammed on Discord, and there is a lot of cyber security practices, or just in general security practices, which need to be improved. So how do you think of that as a barrier, and what are the things which are happening in this space to really get people, like Joshua mentioned, education is one, but the security, like if somebody comes on the first day, gets scammed, I don't think they're coming back. So what is happening in this space on that front, and how are we moving ahead with that, if you would like to speak on that?
Sure. Yeah, no, it's a good question and close to my heart as a cybersecurity professional, formerly a cybersecurity professional. So I think a lot of greed leads people to click links more quickly than they should. And so if somebody is DMing you, or if you see a link that says, if you click this, you'll get whitelist, or if you click this, then you'll have an opportunity that no one else will have, you get an email. I think what you have to do in just general security practice is to verify first what you're doing, what you're clicking on. And a lot of people can spoof, they can submit an email that looks like it's coming from someone, but it's not. And there's a tactic in the cybersecurity world called social engineering. And maybe you've heard of spear phishing or phishing emails, where somebody will target you based off a little bit of information and make it seem like they know you. And so you could get a tweet, you could get a DM, you can get an email. One of the reasons I have chosen at this point to stay anonymous is because I didn't want a lot of people, trying to scam me in different ways. I've tried not to share a lot of information about myself so that I don't have to be, face a barrage of DMs and emails, trying to hack me. And so I think being anonymous, in some sense, draws less attention to you for cybersecurity purposes. But for the general person, I would just say you really have to trust what you're clicking, and you do that by verifying. And one way to verify is through community. So, and this is maybe a good example, Samir. You invited me to be on this panel, and you did it in the Treasure Discord. And so there was an amount of trust in there, because I thought, oh, if Samir is putting it out in the Treasure Discord, he's not going to try to scam anybody, because then he'd sort of be barred from the Treasure community, and I know he doesn't want to do that. And so then you DM me, and I sent you a question, and you didn't respond as quickly, and I thought, oh no, did I offend you, or what is going on? And so I messaged, sorry, I don't know the name of the guy that I messaged, but he's on the panel. Yeah. So I messaged him and said, hey, are you working with this as well? Is this a legitimate thing that I can pursue? And I verified it from someone else. He said, oh yeah, no, definitely, Samir is super legit, don't even worry about it. And so maybe they were working together to scam me, but I think there was, there's an amount of trust when another person verifies something. And so I would just encourage everyone to not act in isolation and just pursuing something on your own, thinking that it's going to make you rich. And so, while a basic cybersecurity principle is not necessarily a technical principle, but it's more of a basic logic and reasoning principle to verify through community. And I think that's one way to really protect yourself from a lot of scams and threats.
Great advice. I think that it is not about the technicality, but just being aware and verifying some information, right? Okay, so I think we have a treasure of knowledge here, but we don't have enough time. So what we'll do is we'll go with the questions, and any of you whoever want to pick up can pick up and answer that. And also, if you guys can share your closing thoughts on the topic, how somebody who's just starting in NFTs can start and take the first step, right? So one of the first questions we have is, what happens to such NFTs where no utility is developed? Is the value dropped, returned?
So I don't
Anybody?
think the value is ever returned in this space. If someone's not developing for a long time, then you should take that hint. But I think, again, that really comes down to, you have to first identify what the value proposition is. Like what Yoel said, right? BAYC had a value proposition which developed over time. It wasn't always going to be 50E. When it developed, it was just another PFP project. Oh, so now if you go into BAYC back in, like, let's say even August and September, expecting to get, like, I don't know, any kind of IRL utility, that's stupid. That's not what they're trying to do. I think so. Make sure you have correctly identified what a project is offering. But yes, I mean, if they're not building for a long time, then it's probably not happening. And we see way too many of these to expect that it's not going to happen. It will happen every now and then. People will just stop building. People will stop caring. And sometimes, like just a few days ago, the whole Azuki fiasco happened. I don't know what that is, but I would still put it in the same basket. So I think it's one of those things: trust but verify. Read your roadmaps, believe in the founders, but always be on the lookout for red flags, and don't expect any value to be returned if they're not building for long enough.
I'd like to add on to that as well, if we've got time.
Yes, sure. Please go.
That is in relation to what Raghav was saying in regards to the value offering. It is sometimes not necessarily aligned with what you or the general community are after. And I mean, when you think about the traditional space, you're not going to buy a pair of basketball shoes if you're a soccer player. Like that, you're not going to get any value out of them in any way, shape, or form. I mean, maybe as a collectible, but generally speaking, you'd buy a pair of soccer shoes. And so understanding that the NFTs are not an investment just to flip or just to hold on to, and it'll eventually go up in value. Yes, that might happen, and yes, you could make a very large sum of money for that, but that's not the primary use case or the primary reason why the team most likely will have created those NFTs. And if that was the primary reason they created those NFTs, then that's probably a red flag in itself. But understanding that first and foremost, I think, is also as an NFT collector or an NFT buyer, our responsibility as well to help change this space. And until we change that mindset, I think there is still going to be issues, and there's still going to be these scams and these problems where people purchase NFTs, they don't get the value that they were expecting out of them, and then there's an issue.
Thank you, Joshua, for expanding on that. Any do you want to share closing thoughts on the topic? What do you think? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah. Talking to Joshua or to the whole group, or closing thoughts on the topic of where people should start off at NFTs?
Yeah, I think Joshua can you hear me?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yeah. I'm just saying that would you like to share your closing thoughts on this, and how should
Sure.
you start in NFTs?
Sure, apologies. Absolutely. I mean, I can't emphasize enough the fact that NFTs are a tool. I mean, I've said that throughout this whole panel, and I think if we can all be advocating for that, then we will go a long way. As far as getting started into NFTs, I would say, similar to what Raghav said, don't expect any financial value return. Treat them as not an asset, but as a liability. I mean, you buy a car, nobody complains that the car's lost so much value as soon as it's rolled out of the showroom floor. It straight away loses thousands of dollars of value, but you get the experience. You enjoy your time with it. It breaks down. That's rough, not fun. You have to pay for it. You have to deal with that, but that's just the way it is. If you can have that view, then you're going to be a lot less stressed in this space, and you'll probably be able to enjoy your time a lot better and be able to make less emotional decisions and more rational decisions. And what I generally look for whenever I'm looking to get into a particular project, look at the team, treat it like a business. Is the team willing to reveal the relevant information about themselves? Does not necessarily have to be their entire personal lives, but the relevant information. Do they have a business model? Do they have a revenue projection? Do they have a plan for how they're going to raise money down the track to keep the project viable? Is the tokenomics model, if they've got some way of having a return in value to you guys financially, is that sustainable? Ask the hard questions. Don't be afraid to ask these tough questions. And if they're not willing to answer those questions, then that can start to be a red flag. Not all the time. It could be that the team is developing those answers, and maybe they've launched a little bit too early. But just treat it as a business.
Thank you, Joshua. Okay, there is a question. Can you share some decentralized liquid NFT marketplaces? I'll just quick. I have answered it. It's OpenSea, looks rare, Tofu NFT. But if you really mean liquid, like you can just convert it. That is available at NFTX. It's a different mechanism. We can go over it sometimes later. But liquidity is not like the tokens in NFTs. So you really have to have a buyer before you have the liquidity for that item. Okay, and the last, we'll move to the next question. How do we deal with law and DAO? I assume it is like issuing shares, and most counties require approvals. What are the alternatives or workaround? Whoever, Yol, Treasure Dad, Raghav, whoever want to take it.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. That's something we've talked about extensively on our Twitter Spaces as well. So I think the very first answer you need to know is this is still a very, very in development topic. We don't know how the law will treat DAOs, but I do know that many, like some of the states in America, I believe Wisconsin and Delaware, but I may be wrong about that, have given DAOs the same status as an LLC, right? So I think that's a huge first step. So then on, at least we know what line to think along, right? So the minute it's an LLC is already a huge thing, because first, it's not at all like issuing shares, right? So it kind of be like, let's say you could have a structure where there is a corporation and an LLC, and the DAO is the LLC, and the actual tech development is happening under the corporation. And thereby you can also look towards having lesser troubles when, let's say, raising funds. Because raising funds in an LLC as a DAO, which has, let's say, 7,500 members, I don't know the paperwork that will require for that, but that cannot be easy, especially given that the 7,500 people could be anywhere in the world. So I don't think it's going to equate to issuing shares of a company. Also, because I think as the definition of DAOs develop, we're going to see that DAOs need to be looked at from the point of view of really people who are a part of the company. They're not just passive shareholders who are just buying of the market waiting for a dividend. Not at all. I think the DAOs that will really be successful will be the ones who are driving the community and can, in very real terms, prove that there is serious value and critical value being added through the presence of these 7,500 people. And you're not creating a service for 7,500 people. You're creating a service for everyone with the help of these 7,500 people. And I think if we start to interpret DAOs that way, that gives us more of a look into them being like a board of directors, which I know, yes, is also people who hold shares in the company, but they're more than that. A board of directors of a Web2 company is not the same thing at all as the shareholder of a Web2. You can become a shareholder of Reliance tomorrow morning, just go on stock market and buy some. That does not give you anything that a board of directors does. I think that is where that key point of the legal definitions of DAO will develop. I do think that there is a while before these definitions are even in conversation in India, in a manner where, like there might be a sustainable way to create DAOs in India. I hope that happens. I don't think it'll happen way too soon, but I do think that we'll very soon start seeing precedents of DAOs being treated as close to, if not exactly, like LLCs, and then most projects going with a two-pronged structure where there is a corporation and an LLC.
Thank you, Raghav. Yol, we have a specific question for you, and then maybe you can close it with your closing thoughts, and we can quickly move on to Treasure Dad because we are short of time. And this is a question by Very Curious. So when do you think NFT blockchain will be implemented in the real estate system to bridge the transparency gap?
So I think that unfortunately, real estate has had the hardest time having the tech development come into play. You'll see it mainly successful in architecture and building infrastructures, whether it's building or any really infrastructure. You'll see the tech there develop fastest just to make building buildings as efficient as possible. And then the other side of it, you have tech being developed for the brokerage aspects, the leasing aspects, things like that, management aspects, that tech is still coming along. I think that blockchain in specific and NFTs has a significant advantage because there's a major identifiable need for NFTs and blockchain to be integrated into into the space, whether that's NFTs through proof of ownership, public data, public chain, whether it's blockchain for payments and things like that. I think that for sure, I would say that it's probably being developed now. I've heard about it a little bit, and just concepts being built, but not actual products. But the ideas are out there. I think people are thinking about it. Very forward-thinking people, smart people. So yeah, I expect it to be here as products that are options to be used in the next a year or two, and we'll probably see it really come onto the scene in year 3, 4. Because then there's also the government aspect to it. Politically, governments want to know that there's no funny business going on behind the scenes, things like that. So once you play the political factor as well, that adds another layer that can take a lot of time. But I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll see it definitely tested, and used hopefully then, because I think that'll definitely advance the industry. And then just closing thoughts on what I would suggest for someone new to come in into the space. Joshua said it great. I think that your first investments, think of it as a car, use it for the experience. Unfortunately, it may not go as well as you think. It could. Someone that bought a Bored Ape or whatever it was, or they get both. We're in a space now that we need projects to lower their initial cost basis. We need them to expand to allow for growth. Unfortunately, someone with $1,000 that comes into the space, or $500 or $300 that comes into the space, is less likely to make as safe of an investment as someone with $5,000. The person that has $5,000 probably has the luxury of buying something and it can appreciate. Whereas, the lower you spend, the higher the risk. But everyone here seems to be very smart people. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of people here making very wise choices of which communities they join, and they could see, both ends, the investment go up, and they can also get the experience. But the experience is more important, I think. I lost on my first 3-4 investments, but I learned way more than the monetary value of what I lost, in my opinion. So I don't regret those decisions, because, start off with a drop in the bucket and then let it expand. But yeah, so next person wants to come on.
Thank you, Yoel. Thank you so much. I will quickly move on to Treasure Dad. Any closing thoughts? Of course, your experience in this field. How should somebody start?
Agree with these guys, like they've been saying, view this space as being experimental. 40 years ago, a hard drive could hold one smartphone picture, like the size of one picture. Today, one hard drive can hold billions of pictures. So the computer technology space has grown exponentially, and blockchain space is going to do the same. So we're still in the experimental phase in some sense. So experiment, buy some Ethereum, bridge it over to Arbitrum, bridge it to Polygon, get a MetaMask wallet and learn how to use it, learn how to switch between the different networks, and don't invest more than you can afford to lose. And I think that's the draw with crypto, is you can invest a little bit and make a ton, but don't get greedy. There was a cryptocurrency I invested $100 in, and within 4 months, it was worth $40,000. So those opportunities are out there. You don't have to invest a lot to make a lot, but you really do have to start small, and you can't start with more than you really can afford to lose.
Thank you so much. And with that, we'll end the discussion for today. And it was great to have all of you, Joshua, Treasure Dad, Raghav, Yoel. Thank you so much for joining from across the world. All of you are in different countries. So thank you so much.
Thank you very
Take
much
care.
for having us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Samir.
It's been
Thank you,
fun.
everybody.
I will move to Raghav, who will close. I will move to Manav, who will close the discussion for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you, Samir. Thank you, everyone, for taking out time and participating in today's panel discussion. Guys, I've shared all the speakers' Twitter handles on the chat. Please do follow them, reach out to them, and Samir has shared again. Do reach out to them if you have any questions, you want to learn about their projects, anything. I would please stay back. I would love to hear about your thoughts and what you guys are doing, and also do please join our community, and we would love to help you guys with your learning and moving ahead in your journey. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Yoel, Joshua, Treasure Dad, Raghav, and Samir for today's lovely session. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.